What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 16 of the Danny Miner podcast. Listen, my guest today, she had some technical difficulties, so it does not look like she's going to be on tonight. I'm going to have to reschedule her. I don't know exactly what happened, but I was in touch with her all week, so I'm assuming something happened. If she checks in, we're going to put her right on, but so far she is not here. So I decided what we could do tonight and make things interesting. We could have ask a cop anything. Anything you want to ask a cop tonight, you could ask me. And I'm going to tell you some stories tonight. First, I want to go over a couple cases in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania, which is probably 20 minutes from where I grew up. Maybe a half hour from where I grew up. We had a cop there was arrested for text messaging teenagers and also having sex with dogs. Yes, I said that, folks. We had a Tamaqua police officer do that in Pennsylvania. Folks, this world is getting insane. The videos I did this week were crazy. It was totally insane that this cop would do something like this. Then we also had a guy in Indiana, a serial killer, okay? From 1980 to 1990, he was accused of killing 25 people. They did a search on his property and they found 10,000 human remains. 10,000. And that's just what's going on this week. We have a cop, cruelty to animals, right? But then we also have a serial killer with 10,000 body parts found on his property. Folks, it's totally insane. Welcome, William. You were late, but you're here. You're here. Debbie, thank you for coming. Listen, my guest today, I don't know if she's late. I'll bring her on as soon as she shows up. If not, we'll reschedule her. But listen, I wanted to go over a couple things, guys. Tonight, any kind of questions you want to ask me, anything you ever wanted to ask a cop, put it right there, man. Put it right there. And yeah, William, you're right. That cop was in Schuylkill County. Yes. It's crazy. Welcome aboard, everyone. Listen, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you guys a story that some of you might have heard, but some of you might not have. I worked undercover drugs. And when I worked undercover drugs, basically they put you with a confidential informant. Could you guys hear me okay? Am I having all kind of troubles today? Could you hear me? Everybody, somebody? Angela said my mic's cracking. Debbie, Northern Lights, somebody, how do I sound? Debbie, if you want to come on, we can put somebody on. Just let me know, guys. I can come right back and do the podcast. Okay, we can hear. Okay, you guys can all hear me. All right. Listen, this podcast is screwed up today. Everybody can hear me. Okay, good. Listen. So when I worked undercover drugs, let me tell you what happened. So when you work undercover drugs, they put you with a confidential informant, right? So they put me with this confidential informant, right? And this guy was arrested for other charges and he was going to work these charges off. And we had this one drug dealer that was in town in our city that they wanted to get. He was supplying everybody with drugs. But this guy was smart and he would only sell drugs to people he knew. So this confidential informant they put me with, I just acted like his friend. And we would go there and buy drugs off him. But I personally never bought the drugs off him. Just the confidential informant. But I witnessed everything. But they wanted me to make the drug buy from him. Okay? So the one day they're like, give him a call and see if he'll sell to you. So we just bought $50 worth of crack from him the day before. So I call him up the next day and I'm like, listen. I'm like, could you do 100 today? We want $100 worth. And he's like, okay, but I'm mobile today. Don't come to my house. We're like, okay. He's like, meet me on the corner and such and such. Well, so we drive up. I'm in the passenger seat. The confidential informant is driving. We have a van following us, and I have a wire. So we have a wire, so you can hear everything I'm saying. So the wire, they're all listening to. We pull up in the corner. This drug dealer pulls up. And there was two of them in the car. Usually it's just him. He looks at me and says, follow me. And I was ready to get out of the car at $100 bill. We're going to make the drug deal real quick. And I was going to get back in the car and go. But for some reason, he says, follow me. The confidential informant looks at me and he says, do you want me to follow him? And listen, when you make a drug buy and everybody's surveillance in it, you never leave that scene. But we wanted this guy so bad, I made the executive decision to follow him. So we start following him. We're following him. He goes up this small little dark alley. The confidential informant looks at me and he's like, you want me to follow this guy up this alley? And I said, yes. I wanted to get this guy bad, but this almost got me killed, and I'll get into it. We get up there. He stops in this alley. We park behind him. I get out of the car. I approach the driver's side. When I approach the driver's side, I have a $100 bill with me. He looks at me and he says, get in the car. And I'm like, what? He goes, get in the car. I'm like, yo, the cops could come up this alley and arrest us. I just want to make this deal quick. And I had the 100. I kept trying to give it to him in the window. He's like, get in the car. So I get in the car. And they tell you never to act like a cop. And this is where I acted like a cop, and it got me in trouble. When I got in the car, I sat behind him in the driver's seat. And what I did was I cracked the door a little bit. So I left my leg out of the door and the door rested on my leg so he couldn't lock me in. I didn't want to be locked in his vehicle. So that's why I did it. So he turns around and looks at me, and I forget about the passenger. He turns around and looks at me, and honest to God, he has a bag like this all full of crack. I can see it. It's just a bag full of crack. And he looks at me and says, do you have a crack pipe with you? And I said, no. And he looks at me again. He goes, you're not the guy I always sell to. I sell to the other guy. And I said, yeah, but he runs. When I give him money, he steals it. This is my $100. I want to make the buy today. He's like, okay, but I want to see your crack pipe. I'm like, all right, I'll show you my crack pipe, but I don't have it. It's back at my house. I don't have it with me. He's looking at me and he goes, why don't you want to smoke it now? I said, because I have work. I don't want to get high now. Finally, he looks at me and he says, are you a cop? And I said, no, I'm not a cop. And he says to me, are you an effing cop? And I said, no, I'm not a cop. Next thing I know, the passenger pulls out a weapon, sticks it in my chest, and tells me, this was his exact words, I'm going to motherfucking kill you if you're a cop. You better not be a fucking cop. I'm going to kill you. And he points the fucking gun at me and tells me, I'm going to kill you. And he's screaming at me, and they're both screaming at me, tell me they are going to kill me. So me with the big mouth, I raise my arms. I'm like, yo, you guys are scaring me. I'm not a fucking cop. I just want to get high. And that's exactly what I said to them. I said, yo, you guys are scaring me. You got guns and stuff. And I was hoping the wire heard me, okay? But when we went up this alley, the wire could not hear me. I was on my own. Now, guys, I had a gun in the middle of my back, but if I reached for my gun, they would have killed me, okay? So I couldn't reach for my gun or they would have killed me, okay? So I decided to talk my way out of this. And I kept telling him, I'm not a cop, I'm not a cop, I'm not a cop. Next thing you know, he looks at me and he points it at me and he said, you fucking better not be a fucking cop. And he put the gun away. And I'm like, whew. So I said to them, I'm like, yo, you guys scared me, man. You guys scared me. If you want my buddy to make the buy, I'm going to walk back and I'm going to let him make the buy. So I walk back, I get in the car, and the confidential informant, he doesn't know what happens. And I said to him, pull out, they have a gun. He goes, what? I'm like, pull the fuck out, they got a gun. So we pull out. As we're pulling out, they start following us. And I'm thinking they're going to shoot into the car. They're going to shoot one of us. I'm trying to call my backup on the phone. Finally, I get my backup, and I'm like, yo, he pulled a gun on me. They're like, we lost you. We couldn't hear what you were saying. So they're right on my tail. I have backup coming. Finally, I thought, I'm going to be in a shootout with these guys. There's nothing I could do, right? So I tell the confidential informant, pull into this parking lot, make a wide turn, and I'm going to come out with my gun. And this is it. This is it. We're going to be in a shootout. There's nothing I could do, right? So we pull in this lot. We make this fucking U-turn. I come out with my gun, and they ride right by us. They decide not to shoot at us, and they ride right by us. Here comes my backup now. The cops go to pull them over. The one guy gets out, throws the gun. They catch the one guy. The other guy gets away. He actually escapes. A week later, how smart he is, we make another drug buy from him and arrest him. So I was that close, guys, to getting killed on my first, that wasn't my first big drug deal, but that was the closest I came. The closest I came. Totally crazy. Oh my God, yes. Have I been in a standoff situation? Yes. Great question, Ashley. Here's the thing. I get called one night. It's like 2:00 in the morning, right? This is before I was a detective. I get called and they said, yo, could you back us up? I got called from the state police. This is when I was a local cop. The state police called me and they said to me, listen, we have a guy that's going to commit suicide and he has a weapon and he's walking in the middle of the highway with this weapon and he has it right here. So he put it right up to his face and he was walking down the middle of the highway. So I drive down there. When I get there, the guy lowers the weapon at me. So I back up, I bent down, I threw it in reverse, pulled out, and then we just watch him from far away, and he just walks down the highway like this. And we were in that standoff situation for about 4 hours. Then he went to the local convenience store. I called the convenience store, and I'm like, lock your doors, lock your doors. They're locking the doors as he's coming up there with the weapon. And then he starts trying to break into the convenience store with the butt of the gun. So I yelled to him, and I'm like, listen, if you go in that store, we're going to shoot you. We have to shoot you because there's a victim in there. My protection of that guy in that store, I tell this guy, we're going to shoot you if you go in that store. I told him like 5 times. At that point, he charges us with the gun. He charges us and starts leveling it, jumps on top of a vehicle and levels it at all of us, and none of us shoot him for some reason. We all back down, we get out, and then he comes back down. Then we get an officer come around the back and tackle him, and then we all tackle him and take him down. That is a true story. We had one brave officer, and it wasn't me, went around the building and was able to tackle him, and that's how we got the gun off him. But we probably could have shot that guy 10, 15 different times, but he was lucky. It was all veteran cops on that scene. And that is a true story, guys. That's a total true story. Crazy, but true. Ashley, listen, you're right. A lot of them don't. That guy, when he got sentenced, the judge looked right at him and he said, you are lucky you had veteran cops on that scene. Because if you didn't have veteran cops on that scene, you'd be dead. That's exactly what the judge told him. And that is the total truth. He would have been. All right, guys. Since it's Ask a Cop Anything hour, Debbie wants me to tell you the ankle story. Here's the ankle story. All right, guys. This is a disgusting story, so please bear with me. All right. Bear with me on this one. I get called one day to back up the ambulance. The ambulance, sometimes when they don't have enough people or they're on 2 different calls, they'll call us and say, could you back us up on a scene? And of course, we always say, yeah. So the ambulance calls me one day and they're like, yo, we have a lady that fell down an outside flight of stairs and broke her ankle. Could you go there and see if she's okay? Do we get the ambulance there, this and that? I'm like, yes. They're like, we're on another call. We'll be there in like 10 minutes. So my buddy, the other officer's there, and he goes, listen, I'll go with you. He arrives on the scene first. I arrive on the scene second. All of a sudden, he runs up to my police car, and he looks at me, and he says, open the fucking trunk. And I'm like, what? He's like, open the fucking trunk. I'm like, for what? He goes, do it. I open the trunk. He goes, pretend we know what we're looking for. And we start looking through the trunk, and I'm like, why? He goes, because this lady's ankle is broken so bad, they did not teach me how to splint that in EMT school. And I'm like, how bad could it be? And he's like, pray the ambulance gets here very quick. And I'm like, I got to see this. So I walk over. Now, there's people have a blanket so she can't see her ankle. She cannot see her ankle. She's alert. She's conscious, everything, but she cannot see her ankle. So I go over and I'm like, ma'am, are you doing okay? We're here to help you, this and that. And she's like, yeah, we're doing fine, right? And I'm like, okay. And I look over this blanket and her ankle, guys, picture this, her leg. Okay, this is her leg. This is her foot. Her foot was this way. It was ripped right off her leg, and you could see the bone sticking out. And I looked at this ankle and I thought, oh dear God, what can we do for this lady? And I looked at her and I said, you're going to be okay. And I looked at the guys and I'm like, don't let her see her ankle. Don't let her see her ankle. So finally the ambulance came. And honestly, guys, I don't even know how they transported her. Her foot was basically ripped off her leg. It was insane. It was totally, totally crazy. And that lady ended up getting like 25 surgeries. And honestly, it was wet out. It was raining. And she fell down 2 steps and ripped her ankle off her foot, falling down 2 steps. It was one of the sickest things I saw as a cop. And I've seen some real bad things, but that was really, really bad. It was horrible. She said, listen, that poor lady. Listen, you know, she's probably walking with a limp now. Honest to God, guys, not making fun. It was bad. It was one of the worst breaks I've ever seen. And I remember going home that night. I was afraid that was going to happen to my ankle. I was like walking real slow. I'm like, holy shit, I don't want that to happen to my ankle. I'm telling you, it was bad. That was one of the worst things I've seen as a cop. Honest to God, I don't know why it was, but it was. It bothered the hell out of me. It was really bad. See, we should have had the Italian podcast tonight. Since the lady backed out, I should have had that. Oh, yes. We see some really gory things. I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people don't realize this, but I probably in my career, you know, people maybe see one dead person their whole life, you know, maybe 3, maybe 2. I've seen 750 dead people. I put 750 dead people in body bags. So I do stuff cops do stuff, and EMTs and ambulance personnel, they do stuff other people would never do. And that's why you cannot be normal after you do a job like that. I did this job for 27 years. There's no way I'm normal. There's no way. Not the shit I've seen. There's no way. What about pizza nights at the station? Listen, we used to have pizza night at the station, guys. Listen, I'll tell you when I hit rock bottom as being a cop. You want to hear this real quick? When I used to work midnight shift for 10 years, I worked midnight to 8 in the morning for 10 years. And when you work midnight shift, guys, you're never eating right. Okay, you just never eat right. You really don't. So me and my buddy, who's actually a big content creator on here right now, Dave Bagansky, he was my partner. He probably has 100,000 followers also. Me and him were working, and we were both gaining so much weight. And we got called. Wait till you hear this. We got called to an arson where a house was on fire with gunshots. So we were going to a shooting and an arson. Okay? A shooting and an arson. I took my pen and I was writing down the address because dispatch was giving it. I was in the passenger seat. He was in the front seat. I dropped my pen. And me and Dave were so fat, we couldn't pick up the pen. We were so fat, we couldn't bend down to pick up the pen. I looked over at him and I said, this is rock fucking bottom. Me and you are so fat, we can't pick up the pen we just dropped. That's the swear to God, that's the true story. And we ended up going there and we both went on diets after that. And we both lost big amounts of weight. Both of us. All because we hit rock bottom. Going on that call, we couldn't pick the pen up. I bloomed up to about 260. I'm about 188, 187 now. I was about 260 then. That is a true story. Do I think she's still alive? Who, the lady with the ankle? She's still alive. She's definitely alive. That's good pizza. Listen, that is a true story. All right, guys, I got another story. And anything you guys want to ask me, here's another story. I caught a guy that murdered his girlfriend running out of the house after he murdered her and took him down at gunpoint. And that's a true story. I caught a murderer running out of the house. Honest to God, it's a true story. I'm going to tell you how it goes. Again, I was eating, okay? The story always starts with me eating. Yes, I used to have an eating problem, okay? Now I don't, but I used to have an eating problem, okay? It's ADHD. Anything that makes you feel good, you keep doing it. Eating used to make me feel good, so I would eat all the time, okay? Here's the story. Again, I'm with the state police. There's about 5 of us, and we're ordering hoagies. And for people that don't on the West Coast don't know what hoagies is, that's subs. Because I notice on the West Coast, people don't know what the hell a hoagie is. But we ordered hoagies. We're waiting for them. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Dispatch calls and says, give us a call on the phone ASAP. They didn't want to put it over the radio. So they tell us, listen, we just got a call from a guy who said he shot his girlfriend. He shot his girlfriend by accident over at such and such a house. So we're like, okay, we turn the lights on, sirens, we start heading that way. When we get there, he must have thought, I got to get the F out of here because I really did this. This wasn't by accident, okay? And he starts trying to run and leave the house. When we get there, he's running out of the house. I pull my gun and I take him down at gunpoint right in the yard. And I handcuff him. I get him in the police car. When I get him in the police car, another guy stays with him, and they tell me, go check on the girlfriend. So when I go up the stairs to check on the girlfriend, she is, listen to me, she is laying, you could see where she got shot. She fell on the bed and then fell on the ground, and she had a bullet hole right here, and she was gone, okay? But now here's the problem. He tells us he was playing with the gun, and it went off, and he shot her. That's what he told us. But her finger was blown off. So it was defense wounds. He was going to shoot her, and she went like this. He blew her finger off, and it hit her right here. And that's how we were able to convict him. He was saying it was by accident. If it was accident, her fingers wouldn't be in front of her face, if you get what I mean. So that's why we were able to prove that he shot her on purpose. It was an accident. And there's more to the story. This lady was married and was having an affair with him. So this was her affair boyfriend. So did he shoot her because she was going to stay with the husband? All of that stuff. So that's basically the story on that one. What do you mean you're surprised I caught up to him? Oh, because I was so big. I was 260. I couldn't run, but I was strong. I maybe couldn't run. No, that was no way by accident because you have defense wounds. She went like this, and he shot her finger, and then it hit her right here. But wait, there's more. Tell him the stolen cheese story. I don't know that one. I can't remember the stolen cheese one. I'm getting old. I can't remember all these stories, man. I can't. I got a funny story for you. All right, I got a funny one. And if you guys want to ask me any more questions, it'd be great. Here's my other funny story. You're going to love this. I get called the one night, right? I get called the one night, and they need a handcuff key. They're like, listen, give us a call on the phone. At the Capitol, my guy. Okay. I remember that. But listen, let me finish this story, right? Now, see, he screwed me up with that at the Capitol. What was I just saying? You screwed me up. If it wasn't for the finger point, you probably would have got. That's true. That's 100% true. Listen, I was just going to tell you guys a story, and I drew a blank because he was telling me about the Capitol and the cheese guy. Oh, the handcuff key. Okay, there you go. So, listen, I'm driving around one night, and they call me, and they're like, give us a call on the phone. So I call them on the phone. They're like, go to such and such an address. They need a handcuff key. And I mean, like, they need a handcuff key. He's like, they'll explain when you get there. I'm like, they need a handcuff key. What the hell is this? So I pull up to this house. I knock on the door, and it's a bachelorette party. It's a bachelorette party. They open the door and they're like, yo, the other strippers here. And these girls are grabbing my tie. They're grabbing my uniform shirt. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So they said, listen, they said, we ordered a stripper. So they got a male stripper there. The male stripper handcuffed the bride-to-be to a chair, and he didn't have handcuff keys. So this bride was handcuffed to a chair with the stripper stripping for him, and they had to call the cops because they didn't have a handcuff key to get her out of the handcuffs. And that is a true story. So I unhandcuffed her, and I got out of there with my clothes still on because these girls were trying to rip my clothes off. That is a true story. See, we don't only go on crimes. Cops do everything, not just the cat in the tree. That is a true story. That I'm not making that one up. That's totally true. 100% true. Hey guys, like I said, I'm going to go live right after this too. And listen, if you have any more people that want to come on, I know something. I was in touch with this lady all week, so something had to happen. I don't know what happened with her, but something had to happen because I was in touch with her all week. So hopefully everything's okay with her. But, one last one. One last one where I almost got killed, guys. So the one night, right, I get called to a domestic fight. So I go to this domestic fight. We go down there, and they're like, this guy hit me with a pipe, and then he threw the pipe in the woods. So I go down looking for this pipe in the woods. I'm searching for the pipe in the woods. There's a trailer park above where we were looking with this pipe in the woods. This guy sees me down there, has nothing to do with this case, decides to bring out a gun and shoots at me for no reason. I am down there and I hear a bullet whiz right by my head. And I got on my radio and I started yelling, shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. And all my cops came up there. This guy just hated cops, had nothing to do with the call I was on, and he shot at me for no reason at all. That is a 100% true story. That Angela, they did think I was the stripper. When I showed up in a cop uniform, the bachelorettes thought I was the stripper. They were pulling my tie. They were trying to unbutton my shirt. I was like, ladies, I'm just there with the handcuff key. I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. It was a good time. Them girls were fun. They were having a good bachelor party. They just forgot the handcuff keys. They forgot the handcuff keys. That is a true story. But I got one more, guys. Listen to this one. You're going to love this one. We had a rookie cop on, right? This is a true story. We had a rookie cop on, okay? And I hear him get called to a shooting. We had this guy pull over on the side of the road, get out a gun, and shoot himself on the side of the highway in broad daylight. This guy shot himself in broad daylight. So this rookie cop starts going there. He gets there about 10 minutes before me because honestly, I get a flat tire going to the call. I drive the police car with a flat tire to the scene because I had to because it was a shooting. I didn't give a shit. I rode right on the flat tire. So we get down there and the rookie cop is there and the guy is still alive and the rookie cop's over by him. And I said to the rookie cop, where's the gun? And he said, well, it was laying right by him when I got here. I said, did you move it? He said, yes, I put it in the trunk. And I thought to myself, well, he probably shouldn't have moved it because we want to make sure this guy shot himself. But I didn't say anything to him. This rookie cop thought that I wanted him to put the gun back. He goes back in the trunk, gets the gun, and brings it back and lays it by the guy who's not dead yet. I swear to God. I'm like, don't do that. Put the gun away. He actually got the gun back and laid it by the guy who was dying. I swear to God, because he got nervous and he thought he did something wrong when I got there. But that is a true story. Oh my God. Crazy. That's 100% true. 100%. We still got people on there. That's crazy. All right, guys, let's go. I got a couple more stories. What else do you want to hear? Well, I'm trying to remember that cheese story to the perfection. Somebody was stealing cheese. I know that for sure. We had a cop got fired once for stealing cookies. We had a cop get fired for stealing cookies. More stories because I'm fixing my phone. Please go to 9 o'clock. Any bank robberies, of course. We had a guy doing bank robberies with a Freddy Krueger mask. We had a guy with a Freddy Krueger mask. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We did. That's true. I totally forgot about that. We had a lady stealing cheese from the blind guy. What happens at the Capitol in Pennsylvania? They have blind people run the snack bars. So you would have to give him the money and say, this is $5. You know what I mean? And I bought a soda and a sandwich, whatever the hell it was. Or this is $10. We had a lady stealing cheese and telling the guy the wrong bill numbers of what he was doing to steal from the blind guy. We actually had that. Angela. We actually did come upon people like that, where you would see a car and you think, what are these people doing? And you'd pull up to it and be like, oh, I know what they're doing. And then you would say to them, get dressed, get dressed, get dressed. All right, listen, I'm going to tell you guys the story that I'm going to tell on my comedy show when I ever do the open mic. Oh, that's true. That's happened plenty of times. We caught people parking. Plenty of times. All right, I got one for you. You guys are going to pee your pants laughing when you hear this story. This is a true story. We had a cop that was working undercover arresting prostitutes, okay? Now, let me hear me out on this, okay? He comes once and he says, we say to him, there's a girl up there. She's prostituting right now. We got to get some stuff, okay? And then we'll come up there and arrest her, but you proposition her first. And he's like, okay. So he goes up there in this unmarked fake Honda car that we had, Honda Civic. He pulls next to her and says, hey, I'm looking for a date tonight. She's like, okay. She hops in the car with him. This is a true story. They go park, and she says to him, are you a cop? And he says, no. She says to him, if you're a cop, if you're not a cop, show me your penis. And he's like, what? And she goes, show me your penis if you're not a cop. She thinks if the cop, if he shows his penis, that means he's not a cop. So she goes, show me your penis. So he looks, and he's thinking, where are these effing guys, right? We were running late to come back to him, okay? So long story short, he decides, I'm going to show her my penis. He shows her his penis, and she's like, okay, now I know you're not a cop. Let's get the business. As she says this, we all show up, surround the car, and everybody approaches the car. They bring her out, and they're like, how do you two know each other? And she's like, oh, we've been friends for years. They always say that, so they try not to prove that it's prostitution. So they're like, oh, we were just talking, we were this, we were that, we were this. So here's the funny part, guys. Get ready for it. Our sergeant goes to her, if you know this guy so good, like you said you do, that you didn't just meet him right now, if you know this guy so well, what's one thing you know about him that nobody else knows about him? One thing. And you know what she says? I know he has a small penis. That's exactly what she said. And we all hit the ground laughing. I mean, he has never lived that down ever. She says, I know he had a small penis. That's how I know him. because he just showed it to me. So she did him in front of all of us. He never, ever lived that down. We made fun out of him forever with that. Forever. She looked right at us and says, I do know one thing about him. I know he has a small penis. That is 100% true story, guys. 100% true story. And she, that's true. She's an expert. She's an expert. Listen, he never lived that down. And when he came back to the station with all the guys, he's like, I'm going to tell you up front. I'm going to tell you up front what happened, because he knew he was going to get roasted forever. He was going to get roasted forever. Honest to God, he was going to get roasted. That's a 100% true story. I know I have a bad laugh. I know I do. I just laugh too loud and funny. I know I do. It's bad. It's annoying. I know, Angela. All right, what else? We got a couple more minutes. This is fun. I actually thought this would be a good idea. Any other stories you want me to go over? I can tell you. Listen, I can tell you one that my girlfriend did. Listen to this. You want to know how stupid criminals are? Do you want to know how stupid criminals are? She worked undercover drugs too. She did the prostitution. She worked undercover drugs, right? And she'll tell you that she was way better than me. And she was. She's 100% way better than me. 100%. But now listen. She gets called. She buys a gun from somebody. So from a drug dealer, she buys a gun. Now, we all drove this beat-up Honda Civic. This was our undercover drug dealer car. We all did this. So they have her in this Honda Civic. In the trunk of the Honda Civic, we have paperwork. Right after we make a deal with a guy, we open up the trunk, we bring the paperwork out, and it says, Harrisburg Police Department's drug investigation all over our paperwork. And we leave it in the trunk of this Honda Civic. Now, wait, you're going to hear why this is important. My girl's working undercover. She buys this gun from this drug dealer. She meets him. The drug dealer shows her the gun. She gives him the money, and he goes to her. I don't want to see you get in trouble. Let's hide the gun in your trunk. She forgets the police paperwork is in the trunk of the car that says she's the police. It says she's the police. It says Harrisburg Police Department on the paperwork. The drug dealer opens the trunk up. He sees it. He had to see it. He moves stuff around and hides the gun and closes the door and never says a word. We thought she was going to be caught. We thought she was going to be in trouble. This stupid guy moved the police department's paperwork and hid the gun. And of course got arrested for a felony selling an unlicensed gun. It's crazy. It's totally crazy. Debbie, she has guts. She's made some great drug buys. Oh my God. Really good. She was really good. Because you know what? When drug dealers see a dude, they'll think I'm a cop. When they see a girl, their mind is, I want to sleep with her. They're not thinking she's a cop. They're thinking they want to sleep with her. That's what guys do. So, I mean, he wasn't thinking she was a cop. So she kicked ass. She really did. She kicked ass when she was doing it. Can you have her on the podcast? She wouldn't come on the podcast. She's not like me. She has a good following though on TikTok. She has two accounts. Yeah, we used to put her picture on Craigslist, and then guys would just call, and then they would send them to a hotel. The cops would come out of the room and arrest anybody. She would. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Oh my God, it's so hot in Vegas today, guys. I'm sweating doing the podcast. It's 115 degrees out there. My air conditioner's not even keeping up. It's crazy. All right, let's see. One last story. What do we got? What'd you do with an ex? Oh my God. But yeah, guys, listen. It's a screwy job. I don't think you could come out of there being normal. I just don't. I don't think you could do that job and be normal. I just don't. Because there's just so much. Oh, Craigslist mix. That was mean, but you're Italian, so I figured you would do something like that. Any good Tate stories? Oh, I got a good Tate story. Listen, Tate was one of them guys that you never knew what kind of cop he would do or what he would do. But he's retired now. We're all retired. We're all old men now. We're just old men. But yeah, I got some stories about Tate that I probably can't tell. Don't mess with Big Ange. But yeah, guys, that's basically some of the crazy stories I had. I went to, I'll tell you a funny story, a bar fight. You guys want to hear a bar fight? I'll tell you it's a bar fight. So we're about 8 miles from this bar. And they call us there, and this bar's one of them bars. There's always fights at it all the time. So they call us, they're like, yo, you have a bar fight at such and such a place, right? And I'm like, okay. They're like, how long till you get there? I'm like, we're like 10 miles from the place, 14 miles. It's going to take us about 10 minutes to get there, 15 minutes. They're like, okay, the fight sounds pretty good. Do you want backup? And I'm like, we don't need backup. There's 2 of us on. I'm like, heck with the backup. All's good, right? We drive up to the place. When I get to the bar, there's 2 guys outside the bar just wailing on each other, right? Boom, 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 right? When they see us, they run. So they see the cops pulling up and they take off running. So I turn to my partner. I'm like, that wasn't a big fight. They left, they ran. We're like, the fight's over. We pull up to the bar. When I looked inside the bar, the entire bar was fighting. These 2 guys were fighting outside because there was no more room to fight in the bar. We had 40 to 50 people in a full-out brawl. I got on the radio. I'm like, yeah, send backup, send backup. So I walk into this bar, and I thought, what could I do? How do I stop a fight with 50 people? What do I do? So I walked in, and you guys know I have a big mouth, and I yelled, knock it the fuck off. Knock it the fuck off right now. That's what I said. And for some reason, they all listened to me. The music stopped, the fighting stopped, and no one said anything. Except one guy said, who the hell are you to tell me to shut up? Boom, arrested in the car. You always arrest the guy with the biggest mouth. Okay? So he ended up getting arrested. He was hitting people when we got there too. But somehow they listened to me. If they didn't listen to me, what was I going to do? There was nothing I could do if they didn't listen to me. I would have got beat up, but I'd have been fighting. Guys, that's true stories. Honest to God, that is 100% true. I'm going to cut a couple of these out for TikTok because I think they'll go good on TikTok. It was definitely funny. Guys, we'll cut out early and I'll go live in 15 minutes. If you guys, anybody that you know to come on the podcast next week, let me know. Angela, Debbie, if you guys want to do yours next week, we could do that. And I'm going to see what happened with this lady and I'll reschedule her. I'm sure something bad happened because I talked to her all week. Something had to happen that she couldn't come. So I'll probably end up rescheduling her. But thanks, guys. I will be live. Give me 15 minutes and I'll come back on live. Thanks, guys.